Hello, my sweet stars, and welcome back to With a Witch, where we do stuff with me, a witch. Today we're going through my Book of Shadows, true to form a little late since I finished this book up at the end of April, but better late than never, am I right? This book isn't going to be nearly as exciting as some books show on YouTube. Some people have grimoires or books of shadows that are absolute works of art in their own right, but that really just isn't my style. My books are workbooks more than they are intricate artifacts of some kind, and I really do like it that way. It makes them feel more accessible, more usable for me. And this reason is partially why my Book of Shadows, up until my current book at least, have been in books that are a little more low-key, like this one. I'm pretty sure these were $10 for a pack of 2 on Amazon, and I'm not gonna lie, I do actually like them a bit better than my current Baron Fig. Not because they're better quality, that is exactly the opposite of what is true, they are definitely not better quality than the Baron Fig, but because some part of me cannot figure out how to easily use a hardbound book while sitting on the couch. Like, I just can't make it work. It's too stiff, and it's out of the way, and I can't see it quite right, and it's just, I'm working on it, but spiral bound is my home place. It is the best for me. But no one is here to chat about my binding preferences. Let's get into the good stuff, shall we? To the extent that that actually exists, at least. Like I said, this book isn't all that exciting, but I did want to share it anyway, just for a view of what a Book of Shadows can look like, even if you're not making it, super artsy and aesthetic like some Books of Shadows are. This first page is, as you can see, blank. This is actually a page that I leave intentionally open to write an introduction to the book, describing its contents once the book has been filled, so we'll actually be filling this page in towards the end of this video, but for now it is indeed blank. First page of content, and we have a wall of text. These are notes that I've taken from books that I've read. This particular set of pages is filled with notes from Igniting Intimacy by the Reverend Rowan Bombadil. I highly recommend this book if you have any interest in sex magic or in magic related to non-sexual intimacy. It is so good. You'll actually see that this entire Book of Shadows is pretty well filled with notes from that book, so you can tell that I'm not just talking it up for no reason. I literally got so much out of this book. The next page is more notes and a journal entry. I won't get into detail with what this actually says, though you can read it if you want. This one isn't anything personal, but this prompt comes from a list of gratitude prompts. This one in particular asked about my favorite sound. So this page is a bit more interesting. The left side you can see I've blurred out here a little bit, and that's because this entry is a bit more personal. So every once in a while, I like to challenge myself to do these short-term challenges, usually lasting about a week or a particular quarter of the moon cycle, where I'll do one specific thing every day that benefits my personal growth or my practice, but isn't something that I could realistically do or would want to realistically do long-term. So this particular week, I was taking some time every day to meditate on a visualization of my body as a temple. Literally taking each part of my body and imagining it with architectural form in my mindscape, and then taking some time to describe it in detail in my Book of Shadows. I really highly recommend this practice whenever you're feeling a little down on your body. It was really great, for me at least, for seeing the beauty in every part of myself while also holding myself accountable for treating it well. The right side of this page is a little bare bones, but it's a functional landing page for the Dawn Moon. Some trackers, habits on the left, and weather, astrology, tea, oil, and mood trackers on the right. A productivity tracker. A spread that I called Empathy for My Future Self, that really I should get back to. I should come back to this practice. I have dropped off with it a little bit. The premise was to make a list of things that I like my house to be, that I feel better in my space when my house is this particular way, and then I wrote a list of whatever chores and activities made the house feel that way. And so then I would try to take a day every week to basically just feel empathy for future me, who has to live in the house that I give her. And, it would inspire me to do those chores in order to create the space that I wanted for my future self. Basically, in short terms, it's a chore list, but it was created via some very effective mind games, so can recommend. These are some plans for Dawn Moon rites, a cleansing, a warding, and a dedication to the Dawn Moon. Some stanzas from a poem that I'm writing near daily to and in honor of one of my deities. Follow-up notes from those Dawn Moon rites on the previous page. A book log. This one is fun. This is just a record of a book that I read. This one in particular being The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. Great book. You'll see these sorts of logs as they're being created in the future, so I won't get into too much description here. You can pretty much see the sorts of things that I'm trying to make a record of anyway. One thing I'm sure you notice as I'm going through these is the utter lack of color on these pages, or any real sense of design. I'm not going to say that this is intentional, but it's not unintentional either. Like I mentioned before, this is a working book, which is somewhat synonymous for a book that is quick and easy to work in. Sometimes I have the time and energy to make pretty and colorful and aesthetic pages, and you'll see some of those, but for the most part, my pages look like this, and continue to look like this. My pages in my current Book of Shadows are also pretty bare bones like these are. We have a full moon landing page here with a rather sad doodle of my aloe plant. Doodling is not always my forte. More empathy and journaling on a tarot draw. I'm going to flip through some of these more quickly now. There's not that much that needs to be lingered on. More book logs, these for A Crown of Wishes and Shadow and Bone. More poetry, a book log for a book that I didn't finish. Not a full DNF for Negotiating with the Dead. I just wasn't in the mood for essays at that time. A Dusk Moon landing page where I tried to get decorative with some of my boxes and went a little overboard, but hey, I don't hate it. A productivity tracker, an astrology tracker I didn't fill out all the way. And our first sign of color! So these pages come from another challenge I assigned myself one week, this one to create a protection spell for each day of the week. I had just finished reading Protection Spells by Erin Murphy Hiscock, and so it seemed the opportune time to utilize some of what I learned into sketching out some spell concepts for future use and inspiration. The first two are cleansing spells, one a garden cleansing using a bell, as you can see from my doodling, and one a knot array to hang above the doorway to capture unwanted energies as people pass underneath. You can see that below each spell I gave a couple of ratings. For simplicity, ease of access, which basically just means how many components it needs, and does it need to have specialized stuff for it, or can you get by with whatever. Efficacy, which you will see are all not applicable, because I tried none of these during that week. And a rating for how much I liked the idea of the spell, which you would think would be solid 5s across the board, because I'm the one creating them, so you would think that I would like them all, but nope. I am my own worst critic, so mostly I was giving myself 3s. The next page has more spells, 2 deflecting spells, one using runed stones, one designed to be braided into hair, another cleansing spell using embroidery, and an absorbing spell that I did not doodle because I didn't know how to doodle a scapegoat jar. The next page you can see is mostly devoid of content because I got the second dose of the vaccine that week and then spent the entire end of the week and the weekend in bed with a low-grade fever and a desire to do nothing but sleep, so the right-hand side of that page has the beginnings of what I was trying to make a 31-day tarot challenge for myself. I think I maybe did it for a week, but I do want to go back and try something similar again at some point. It just didn't work out for me at this time. And we are back to black and white. On the left, we have a list of things that I wanted to remember to research in detail, and then the right has some ideas for weekly challenges that I wanted to pose to myself. These 2 pages have a list of spreads that I thought would be cool to add to my Book of Shadows on a day when I had the motivation to spend time there. Here is a very disjointed spread in honor of the coming springtime with more poem on the right. more tarot journaling. I like that I was trying to carry the color through during this week. It's subtle, but it makes the pages not quite so dull. This left-hand page I've blurred out. This had a spell that I created and performed when my dog was ill in order to lend her some extra energy and help her feel loved. On the right is a journal entry I wrote about my thoughts on working with deities that you also don't need to see. A failed new moon page, and then the actual new moon page, featuring a failed doodle of a telephone. And here's something familiar. This is the first Levelton life spread I ever did, and if you've seen my most recent one, you can see that the layout has not changed much, / really at all. But it really is so functional, so why mess with something that's working? A spread where I tried to keep track of moods and various behaviors that might be contributing to those moods, like sleep, then some habits, and an Astara page. I know this page is stupid simple, but I actually kind of love it for that. I posed some specific questions to the tarot, did a little journaling about what the day meant to me, documented what I did for my feast, and it was easy as that. I really think I might go back to something closer to this than what I did for Belton for the solstice. I did too much for Belton for my personal preference, I gotta be honest. I tried something, and it didn't really work for me. Alright, on the left, a follow-up for that spell I did for my dog. She made a full recovery, by the way. And then the start of another challenge. For this one, I wanted to come up with and write a little blurb about practitioners from history or fiction or mythology that inspire me. This was a great idea in concept and potentially great in practice, except that I could not think of that many practitioners. I got 2 from a book. Circe, who, yes, is from mythology, but I was particularly inspired by the way she was characterized in the book by Madeline Miller, and by Juno, who comes from a book not nearly as good as Circe, but somehow still had nuggets of inspiration throughout it. Honestly, I don't know. It's called After the End. Probably don't read it. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. A poem, a book log, and another book log, both DNFs. Oh my god, they were such hard DNFs. This was a really bad reading week. A tarot journaling spread where I pasted photocopies of the cards. So this next page has a journal entry I did about what I would be doing if I were truly living. At this point, I was feeling a little lost, adrift, without purpose, and this simple prompt was a really great way to get me refocused on the things that I love about life, and from there, what sorts of things I should be aiming for. And then the other page has belated recipes that I used for my feasting on Astara. Another tarot draw, and a page that I set aside for the dawn moon and that did nothing with. Habit tracker, mood tracker, the usual. More poem, and then some interesting tarot spreads that I found a couple of different places, mostly Pinterest and in the guidebooks of the decks that I have that I wanted to put all in one place. Some notes, a different way of habit tracking I was trying out, another tarot journaling page, brainstorming for my grimoire organization, which, yes, is a separate book from my BOS, but probably not something I will be showing you if I am perfectly honest, another tarot page, another book I DNF'd, another tarot draw. I think I must have been doing a tarot challenge this week. There's way more tarot draws than I usually perform here. Notes on herbalism, more notes on herbalism, plus some notes about what happened when I tried to use an herbalism type remedy. More notes. More notes. A page that started as a tarot journal, but then I didn't have a card pop for me, so I turned it into a page about another experiment with herbal remedies. As a note, when I say herbal remedies, I'm talking about like drinking ginger tea to see if it calms down my digestive system, not using it to cure any ailments or anything like that. Alternative medicines for little things, doctors for big things. If you would see a doctor about it without access to herbs, go see a doctor about it now. Don't be dumb. This has been my PSA. Another poem page, and a full moon landing page. I don't know what inspired the yellow and green, but I'm into it. Habits. Notes. A simmer pot cleansing spell. More grimoire organization brainstorming, another tarot journal. Notes. Some things from Pinterest that I found interesting or inspiring. It rarely happens, but I'll take it when it does. A description of a cleansing and restorative bath I did. More notes. Notes about ways to ground with elements other than earth. A formal write-up of that simmer pot cleansing spell from a couple pages ago. More notes, and a really pretty yellow and black landing page for the Dusk Moon, along with a tarot journal and a habits page. You can see that this is actually the first time I used the habit system that I currently use, which I do describe in some of my other videos, so I won't get into it here. Good idea past me. Thank you for coming up with that. Some more notes. A quote that I really love. I won't read it to you because it's long, but I highly recommend you pause it and read it. It's beautiful. Some more notes. A recipe for muffins, a breathing-based meditation technique, which comes from that book I mentioned, Igniting Intimacy. The procedure for creating a self-care toolkit, and this is actual beneficial attention to all parts of you self-care, not like spa day self-care. That also comes from Igniting Intimacy. A warding spell I wrote and used to ward my house that I have blurred out for obvious reasons. More notes. Are you tired of seeing them? Because I am tired of saying it. They are beneficial from the perspective of what this book is actually used for, but for a flip through, I'm just going to stop pointing them out when they come up. We passed another moon cycle, which means another level 10 life spread, a new moon landing spread, and some habits. Here's a fun spell I wrote that calls on the rain to wash any unwanted energies away from you. A tarot journal page. A beautiful piece of art that came in April's Wolf and Time subscription box. A landing page for the Dawn Moon. Habits, another herbal remedy experiment. A pink and green full moon page, appropriate since I'm pretty sure this was for the pink moon. I tried using stamps on this spread for the first time and didn't love it, but didn't hate it, so those will likely be coming back at some point in the not too distant future. My first tarot spread I put up on the channel. I still enjoy the crap out of this, even though it looks nothing like the rest of the book. I just had so much fun with these pages. And we're at the end, which means that all that's left to do in this book is flip back to the beginning and write an introduction. For me, this book was a lot about trying new things. Through the challenges that I did, the various styles and aesthetics that I attempted with my pages, the many, many notes that I was taking, I was experimenting a lot with a lot of things. And I think that's awesome, because I had so much fun in this book. It brought me so much joy to work in and play around with, even when the pages were very plain and boring and done in ballpoint pen, they were still fun. Which I think is all you can really ask a Book of Shadows to do for you in the moment, is bring you joy, beyond documenting and helping out your practice. I hope it brought you some joy. If it did, I would very much appreciate it if you could throw this video a like, and if you're interested in doing some more stuff with me, a witch, be sure to subscribe. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, you are my hero, and you should drop a star down in the comments so I know who you are. And most importantly, until next time, I hope your practice is ever evolving, ever changing, and ever growing, because that is the mark of a person having fun. Bye.